Let me just start off by saying that something pretty graphic and shocking happened to one of my action figures the other day. My tiny little baby was able to grab a hold of one of them, and well, let's just say the joints are so loose, this figure will probably never be able to pose again. Like, it's still there's no real damage, but the joints are so loose, this figure can't even stand upright. I know, pretty sad and shocking. The only thing that I'm thankful for is that it's one of these figures that I can easily replace. It's not one of those like more expensive, hard to find action figures. Let me just say, if you're planning on having kids, this is the kind of stuff you're gonna have to deal with, okay? They'll occasionally get a hold of some of your action figures. I don't know. Anyways, all jokes aside, let's get serious here for a second. Enough shocking graphic storytelling in today's video. I actually wanted to I guess it's just kind of like a more open forum conversation with you guys, because over the past couple of weeks, some pretty intense stuff has been happening. It's kind of a little bit mind-blowing, and honestly, my tiny little T-Rex brain can't quite comprehend exactly what's going on. Now, first of all, I wanted to talk about that new video that McFarlane launched, I want to say like a week ago, where he essentially goes out to a Walmart and showcases, I guess, the new section for McFarlane collectibles, which is now going to be in the electronics section, right next to the televisions, right where the video game stuff is at. That's where his new collectible area is going to be at. I'm not sure if he's gonna like share space in the electronics section as well as the action figure section, because I have seen certain Walmarts that still have both collectibles in both sections. But I think from my understanding, he's actually going to start moving everything from the action figure display or the action figure section and just putting it all in the electronics section, which honestly, I don't know if it's a good idea necessarily, but I will say, I suppose it's a good idea to stand out in that market space, because it's kind of difficult to do it nowadays. I mean, most people that collect action figures as a whole, we're very familiar with all of the different manufacturers, but if there are people out there that are not too familiar with everything that's going on, I guess this is a way to kind of like seclude your collectibles. And maybe there may be some people that feel like the only collectibles that they ever run into are at the electronics section. They rarely go to the action figure section at their local Walmart. So I'm not sure what the end game here is, but I guess it kind of makes sense on the surface. Now, I will say McFarlane got a ton of hate over this, which I think was absolutely hilarious. By the way, we'll talk a little bit about the new, Spark Your Collections display that they have at Walmart as well, that features like Mattel and Hasbro. They have a bunch of Marvel Legends action figures displayed and whatnot, but we'll get into that later in the video. I actually just wanted to touch a little bit on this McFarlane situation, because there was a ton of hate in the comments section, people just roasting McFarlane, and I thought it was kind of hilarious because McFarlane is just so oblivious to this stuff. I'm not sure if he ever goes onto his YouTube page and like goes through the comment section or goes on social media, but the dude is there with his gigantic rapper chain and just like a giant Rolex on his arm. He's flexing, he's walking around Walmart. I can guarantee you that McFarlane doesn't even know what a Walmart is. He's probably never even walked inside one of them. He probably thought that Walmart was like a fictitious thing that people invented. He probably, if he's ever bought anything from Walmart, he either has it shipped to his gigantic mansion or he does a curbside pickup, because I don't think he even knows what a Walmart is. He walked in there and he acted like it was some sort of like theme park, like he just didn't really fit into Walmart's aesthetic. But yeah, he walked in there and there were even some people in the comment section that were claiming that the people that were there were some sort of paid actors, which honestly, I don't feel that McFarlane is going to go out of his way to hire people just to stand inside of a Walmart. I'm going to assume that he probably got in there like really early as soon as they opened up the store, and that's probably why it looks so empty and it doesn't appear like there is that much going on in there. It almost feels like the entire store is empty, and a lot of people just were losing their minds, claiming that McFarlane had set up this particular Walmart to have like a ton of different collectibles. And this is coming from somebody that has the most POS Walmarts in his area. Like, I have to drive sometimes, well, not so much nowadays because I moved closer to some of those Walmarts, but back in the day when I used to live, more west, I actually had to drive like sometimes 30 to 40 minutes to some of the better Walmarts. And even then, sometimes I would run into just completely bare racks. But in this particular situation, I actually have seen some of the Walmarts, not in my area per se, but I have ran into some Walmarts across the state or across the city, and they did look somewhat like this, and maybe not as full stack, back as this particular video made it appear, but that live action Superman film end cap, I do clearly remember it. There was, there were a ton of Superman in there. Mr. Terrific was there, Lex Luthor. There was a Hawkgirl, if I'm not mistaken. The Guy Gardner Platinum Edition, if I could be wrong there, but there were just a ton of different figures there. I have not run into the regular Cyborg Superman, but I have seen the Green Lantern alternate, what was it, the alternate red color tone? I can't quite remember, but I know there was an alternate version of Superman, the Cyborg Superman. That one I have run into. So even though I have not found the original Cyborg Superman, and I think they had like a few there on display, this isn't like a far-fetched situation. I think he just arrived at a Walmart that was essentially stocking up this entire display area. It was maybe like the flagship Walmart. It was the one that got the collectibles before any other Walmart. This is probably just like a really old video that they had been sitting on. But look, regardless of what the situation may be, I have seen a lot of these Walmarts. And I think what happens is that's what most Walmarts appear to look like. By the time that just normal, like everyday collectors that work for a living happen to run across one of these displays, they're bare. It's not that they were not stocked up. It's not that they were not available at a certain time during the week. It just so happens that we have lives. We just can't be at Walmart 24/7. And so I do believe that the scalper community, all these action figure flippers, are able to get there before anybody else. So I don't feel that the hate on McFarlane is necessarily warranted here. Look, if there's ever a time that McFarlane needs to be criticized, I'm at the front of the line. I'm somebody that is very passionate about action figures, and I don't like the community getting taken advantage of. But I don't think that that's what's happening here. I don't think this has anything to do with McFarlane. I do remember seeing like at least 3 different stores be pretty stocked up, not to the point where this particular Walmart was at, because as I mentioned, by the time I got around to it, I'm assuming the scalpers had gotten to that particular section and they had cleared out most figures. But I do believe I saw the leftovers or the crumbs that these scalpers had left behind. But it's just really cool. It's nice to see McFarlane get his own little section in the electronics area. Also worth mentioning, Walmart came up with a brand new little display, and if in case you guys are wanting to check out those displays, you guys can go out to your local Walmart, or if you can't, I do have a hunt video where I essentially just give you guys a quick little rundown, like a full 360 of the entire little display. It's essentially just Walmart creating a little area where they posed action figures. There were like some G.I. Joes posed up there. There was a little, I guess like a little glass display case on this section, and you could see like Marvel Legends, you could see Transformers, G.I. Joes, the Black Series line. They even had some wrestling stuff, and essentially they were supposed to have a bunch of reissues or restocks of certain collectibles. The retro carded animated line, they were supposed to have like a JJ in there. They were supposed to have a Rhino. They were supposed to have a Sandman, so on and so forth. And they were supposed to have, I think, the Marvel Legends War Machine Gamerverse 2-pack as well, and then the Thunderbolts 2-pack. By the time I got there, as I mentioned previously, by the time I got there, it was like a Friday or a Thursday night, if I'm not mistaken. Everything was cleared out. There were no retro animated Marvel Legends action figures available. Everything Black Series was gone. They essentially left the bare bones of any character that they probably assumed could not resell on eBay or in person, and they just decided to leave that stuff behind. I think the G.I. Joe section was pretty good, and then I believe the Thunderbolts 2-packs were still available. But as I mentioned prior, a lot of people are going online criticizing these manufacturers because they claim these manufacturers did not restock or did not give these Walmarts enough stock to have them available for collectors, but I don't think that's what's happening. I think essentially what's happening is a ton of scalpers, a ton of action figure flippers are going in there, buying everything that they can see at these new displays and just trying to resell them online or in person, which honestly I think is really sad, because I do believe that these, whether it's the retailers or the actual manufacturers, they're actually putting forth effort. Like McFarlane making that move was a pretty big deal. Him manufacturing these end caps for Walmart was a pretty big deal. That's not something that manufacturers do pretty consistently. Same thing with that Spark Your Collections Walmart little area that they manufactured, the little rack, the little shelf where they had a bunch of action figures displayed. By the way, whoever decided to pose those action figures up, they did an absolutely horrendous job. They couldn't just bring in like a semi-collector to pose those figures up for them. I don't know. But I will say I'm kind of curious to see who ends up with those little glass display cases. I think it's probably just a plastic little protective case, but I'm kind of curious to see who ends up keeping those because they're pretty intricate. They're cool. The backdrops are really cool. I'm assuming it's all cardboard, but it's still, like I said, it's nice to see them putting forth some effort. It's nice to see them showing love to the collector community. Even at a time when I felt like, for the most part, the retailer space didn't really care about collectors. But I think this may be, and I hate to use this word, I hate to use this phrase because it's overused, but I do believe this may be the golden age for collecting. I think it's starting to pick up. It's starting to ramp up. Stuff is starting to sell out pretty consistently. And this is just nice to see all around. I know there's a ton of negativity when it comes down to both of these situations, but honestly, you won't hear any complaining from me. I absolutely love it. This is exactly what the community needed, just kind of a jolt of energy, and that's exactly what we're getting here. But as always, this is just my personal opinion, my personal humble perspective. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay safe out there. Make sure to enjoy the hobby, pose your action figures, play around with them, go action figure hunting. It's so much fun. It's kind of difficult to record for me sometimes because it's, I'm not very good at public, but it's always fun. I love putting these type of videos together for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy them just as much, and make sure to stay tuned because we are uploading on a daily basis. Sometimes from time to time we'll even upload 2 videos on a daily basis. We love it. Stay safe out there, enjoy the hobby, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.